Hi everyone, Ken Kirschbaumer here, and welcome to Production Tools Part A, one of our tech tours. We have two in the Production Tools category, Part A and Part B. Part A features Blackmagic, Grass Valley, Panasonic, Vizrt, and Ross Video. So that is this part that you're watching right now. And Part B, which is in a separate file, so be sure to check that out as well, features Evertz, EVS, Nelco Media, and TVU networks. So before we get to the first presentation from Blackmagic, I do want to welcome in Brad Cheney, Fox Sports VP of Field Operations Engineering. Brad and I discussed the area of production tools and where he sees it from his perspective as far as where the current state of the market is and where things are going to be headed. So please enjoy a quick conversation with Brad and myself. Hi, Brad. Great to see you. How are you and where are you right now, by the way?
I am doing great. I happen to be in Dallas, Texas right now, about to lead into our latest pay-per-view boxing event here with the PBC from AT&T Stadium on Saturday.
Oh, excellent. Great. So real quick, this is for our tech tours. We have some great sponsors taking part in these events and sessions. We got EVS, Evertz, a couple other folks, Grass Valley. So our focus here is production tools. So I guess from looking at the list, it's really kind of focusing on production switchers, replay systems, kind of the front bench tech. So what's your take on the current state of those tools and where they're at and what you guys kind of need out of them?
Yeah, I mean, we're really at a great point right now as this whole push towards IP continues to march on, and that, you know, we're really starting to see people integrate IP across their platform, and that's really going to kind of bolster what we're doing going forward in giving us flexibility and growth and also scale. And I think that as we've all kind of seen in COVID, as we start to rejigger our models a bit, develop larger production centers that can support multiple productions at a time, that data being together and managed and accessible is really going to be a piece that's going to drive all of us forward. And so I think that when we look back at large network solutions from EVS and Evertz and Grass Valley on a replay front, you looked at it, you looked at major shows like the Masters and the Super Bowl and the Final Four, and you talked about all that data moving around and all those servers tied together. And now all of a sudden you go, well, wait a second, that's my core facility. And now that's tied into 8 different mobile units for an NFL game or a college football weekend or Major League Baseball. And so that kind of infrastructure we're talking about, that glue that is IP, is really what's going to drive us forward. And what we're really seeing from the manufacturers that you're going to hear from today is that push for IP collaborativity between not only manufacturers but equipment, and allowing us to do things at scale that just has kind of been unprecedented before.
Sure. Excellent. All right, well, let's hear what they have to say, and Brad will be back with you later.
Hi, welcome to Blackmagic's booth. I'm Bob Cornelia, Director of Sales Operations for the Americas, and I'm working from home, just like everyone else. So I'm here to talk about our new production tools, specifically our ATEM switchers. We now have ATEM switchers that range from the ATEM Mini at $295, which is a 4-input HDMI switcher, all the way up to the Constellation 8K, which is a 10-input 8K switcher, or a 40-input 4ME HD and Ultra HD switcher. On the 4ME ATEM Constellation 8K, all of the inputs are scalable, even when working in 8K, so it can up-res to 8K. Now, on the ATEM Mini line, we have 3 models that we've introduced. In less than a year, we've gone from the ATEM Mini, which is a 4-input switcher, that has 4 HDMI inputs, but it also acts like a webcam, so you can use it with Zoom, and then you can switch between a lot of inputs, just like I'm doing. Like, I can switch over to my ATEM Mini Pro ISO and show everybody exactly what I'm doing right here. So the ATEM Mini Pro has a built-in encoder. So this encoder will go out the Ethernet port, and this way you don't have to use an encoder, so you can actually send it straight to the web. And then use the USB-C port as your ability to record the program output. Now, the ATEM Mini Pro actually also has, on the HDMI output, you have the ability to have a multi-view, which is always great. The ATEM Streaming Bridge is a streaming receiver for the ATEM Mini Pro and ATEM Mini Pro ISO. It receives the stream over Ethernet and turns it back into HDMI and SDI. And then we introduced the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and the ISO is for isolated recording. So now what you have is a 4-input switcher that has the built-in encoder that can also be used through the USB-C port to be a webcam. But if you're using the built-in encoder and streaming out of the Ethernet, you can then record on the USB-C. But not only are you recording the program output, you're now getting ISO records of all 4 inputs. So every input, including the audio inputs, are all recorded in an ISO. And it opens up in Resolve like a DaVinci Resolve project. The DaVinci Resolve project is created at the same time as you're recording, and you just drop it into Resolve and voila, there's your multicam shoot. So it's really exciting and really great to provide a production/post-production environment all in one. So we just introduced these new microconverter 3G models. So there's a SDI to HDMI, HDMI to SDI, and a bidirectional HDMI and SDI. The bidirectional converter has SDI and HDMI in and out, so when you're using a pocket cinema camera with one of the other ATEMs, like the Constellation 8K, you take the HDMI out into the bidirectional converter. Then you take the SDI out of that converter into the switcher. Then take a program feed out of the switcher back into the bidirectional converter, and it completes the cycle to have tally, to have camera control all through the converter, so that you're actually using you can use the software to do the color correction, you can use a hard panel to do the color correction. It's all great. And then on the other side, if you have an 810 mini and you want to bring in an Ursa broadcast as your main camera, you take the SDI out of that into the bidirectional converter. Then take the HDMI out of that back into the 810 mini, and then the SDI output of the converter goes back to the input of the Ursa broadcast. It completes the cycle, and now you're getting tally and camera control from an 810 mini back to an Ursa broadcast, or a studio camera, or a micro studio camera, or an Ursa Mini Pro. So it's really exciting to be able to add the cameras and the camera control for all of the Blackmagic cameras on any of the Blackmagic switchers. Okay, well, we just scratched the surface. If you want more information, contact me, Bob Cornelia. That's Bob C at blackmagicdesign.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at Blackmagic_news. You'll get information on all of our product updates, as well as all of our software upgrades that are available on our website in the support section. Go to blackmagicdesign.com. You'll get all the information. Please, if you have any questions, let us know. Although we don't sell direct, we love to communicate with everybody to give them all the information they need about the products. And please stay safe, and we'll see you at the next one.
Grass Valley makes it easy to migrate to 4K UHD by offering the right bandwidth required for uncompressed HDR and 4K UHD processing, delivered over 12G SDI or IP, with an ever-expanding portfolio of single-stream 2160p full raster solutions, capable of producing in both HD and 4K UHD. And the best part is, we do it without reducing capacity or compromising on features, because we're Grass Valley.
Let's dive right into a term that I often hear associated with 4K UHD and HDR, single stream. Matt, what does that mean?
So single stream defines how UHD content is handled on the wire. So 12 gig gives enough bandwidth for a single UHD stream to be handled on a single connection, which differs from the early days where you'd have quad square division or quad 2SI. So everything we're talking about today, whether it's switchers, replay, or camera, can handle either mode, quad or 12 gig single stream in either SDI or IP.
We also hear the term single raster. Greg, is this the same thing?
No, really it's not, Nikki. Really, when you talk about the term full raster, what that really means is that it's describing that the signal is being processed. And on many of the products advertised as single stream connections, the signal is still being split internally, so it can be processed as 4 1080p 3 gig signals. When you connect that signal, you typically lose that capacity of the system, and it's really reduced by a half or sometimes 3/4. and all the features are also reduced by that, not only just the I/O count. And in comparison, the new K-Frame XP switcher doesn't have any of those kind of limitations because it's being fully processed internally, full raster 4K 2160p. So no reduction in I/O count, and its capabilities, regardless of what your production is, that's not reduced either. So that means MEs, DVEs, Keys, you name it, it all basically stays the same no matter what the workflow is. So in other words, there is no compromises.
Ronnie, as customers work with these high bandwidth signals, is it better to use SDI or IP?
So as we mentioned earlier, our new LD-X100 camera captures full raster UHD, but it's not limited to that single format. We capture in any format with just a simple option update that is quickly done in the field.
So Matt, you're telling me that Grass Valley production equipment can produce in multiple formats?
Sure thing. Whether it's cameras, switchers, or replay, we handle everything UHD, HD, SDR, HDR, and the replay system can actually do some clever dynamic processing on output. So you can take in any format and then convert it if needed on output.
And most of those live productions, they're created in one signal format and then converted into wherever they're going to be delivered. But if you really need conversion internal to the pieces of equipment, you can convert those as well. And since each production basically has its own base format, the most important feature is what are you going to be taking out of it? Or so can you do an HDR one day and do a full 4K UHD and then the next day? And with our equipment, you can do that.
It's so clear that Grass Valley equipment supports different video formats, but if you are planning to do a lot of production work in 4K, is it better to use SDI or IP to transport these signals? And Ronnie, what do you think?
Well, in many instances, Grass Valley products offer both types of connections, so it really comes down to the customer's preference.
In the distribution of those kind of signals, when you're doing remote production, it adds a lot more flexibility.
For remote production and distributed production, replay is a key problem to solve. LiveTouch offers several solutions there. We can use the LiveTouch panel remotely over a wide area network to take it away from the physical video server and provide flexibility in remote production workflows there. And we also have a centralized media network on LiveTouch, so you can instantly share media between servers, and operators can collaborate very quickly and easily in these distributed production scenarios.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Panasonic Tech Tour with an emphasis on production tools. My name is Jim Jensen and I'm the Senior Business Development Manager for the sports market at Panasonic. And today I've invited Mike Bergeron to join us, who's the Senior Product Manager for the Live Production Systems. Today we're going to talk about something that has revolutionized the industry, and there's not another product like it. And the product I'm talking about is Kairos. Mike, tell us about Kairos and why it's so unique in the marketplace today.
Well, we've been referring to it as an IT/IP production platform. And what we mean when we say that is that it is IT in nature and that it's using off-the-shelf components in the mainframe, the GPU, CPU, and is operating as software. So the switcher components and functions are virtualized in that software. And IP, because the connectivity for control and the interfacing with other systems is based on a GigE network, and also that the input and output is based on a SMPTE 2110 100 gig network. That allows us to incorporate the moves to robotic systems and other things into the transitions and things we do as part of the production. And so it is the core of a smart studio.
You know, that's interesting because we have TechnoPoint, which is our robotic system that is a rail system that goes on the floor up to 65 feet or the ceiling, has an elevator system along with it, whether it's hung from the ceiling or floor or stationary or along the tracks, with great flexibility and production value. as well as the new UE100 PTZ. That is a direct drive system, so it's quick, it's quiet, and very smooth to work with the Technopoint system. And of course, we can't forget that we can incorporate BlackTracks on this as well too, a live tracking system. So that giving it even more flexibility and production value to customers. But that's a little bit about the inputs and some devices that we can connect. But let's talk a little bit about the outputs and the flexibility there and what Kairos brings to the table.
A lot of these camera moves are going to really increase your production value. But what also is going to help is that you can build output scene, output content with as many layers as you like, or as many transitions or pips or anything that you like. It's only limited by your imagination and ultimately the full power of the GPU in the system. That not only allows you to have something really complex and really to make any of the outputs into an NE, it makes it easier for someone who's spent all their career so far working on desktop platforms like Photoshop or NLE system to really get up to speed very quickly on how to build this kind of compelling content. And then because it's 2110 and that I'm not using a specific system format, that means I can mix 720 and 1080 and 4K content and mix them all together into one canvas and create a custom screen for any of the unusual screens that are becoming available right now.
So that's interesting. So it sounds like the Kairos system was well thought out in terms of the flexibility on the inputs, as well as the outputs and the many demands that, especially in the sports market, as far as in-house entertainment.
Yeah, precisely. Right now, if you are managing a venue, an entertainment venue, a sports venue, you want to possibly contribute to the broadcast feed. You'd like to get assets from the broadcast feed. You want to make a compelling scoreboard show for the investment in a big LED board or something you may have. But then there's also other website and streaming content that you can produce because you have the rights to it. And you'd like to have as many unique streams as possible to really be able to fully utilize your ownership of those rights. And so with Kairos, it's very easy to produce many independent, high-value assets that you can send to different screens and other destinations.
Well, thank you for that quick overview, Mike. I hope it interests our customers that they want to reach out to me. My contact information as follows. Thank you and have an awesome day.
Panasonic.
I'd like to introduce you to our new touch drive production switchers. Hope you like it. Let's get into it. When we came at designing the touch drive 2S, we wanted to make sure that we could deliver an ergonomic panel with a fantastic feel. We've brought a curved, angled design. These are very shallow in depth. You'll notice that they rise up to bring the displays to the user, while still maintaining only 3 inches rise out of the desk. On the left-hand side of the panel, we intentionally cut this section out to ensure that we could get full access to in-desk furniture mounts like turrets that could contain things like router panels, ultra touches, or say intercom. For the TD, their USB access is right here on the side. When it came to the menu system and control panel, we still wanted full dashboard control. This is a 15.6-inch 1920 by 1080 display. Best of all, everything connects directly to the back of the control panel. Looking at touch drive, it's obvious one of the main focuses was the displays. This panel now incorporates IPS technology displays that give us full color range. One of the new things that we added to this panel is the ability to interact with every single display as a touch device to give you quick interaction with gestures, swipes, clicks, taps. This meant that all of these delegation buttons now had more flexibility. So from a live operation standpoint, it's great knowing that I can delegate any of these buttons to any function I want. Leveraging the fact that these displays now can have not only split mnemonics, but also split colors. So here, my red wipe is red, so when I press that button, I know the transition is going to take place. I select my source, I want the yellow wipe, I press it, I get that yellow wipe. Each transition area also has 3 direct access user buttons. Here I've got the 3 transitions as custom controls that I use most often in my production, giving me quick, rapid access to being able to run these without having to come back over to the left-hand side. A new concept in mapping your panel. By tapping here, I jump into touch map, I just select that source, I see that nothing is in it, I can select external sources, internal sources, any bus or aux bus that I want to use for bus follows. I can do it with an assignment, an insert, ripple the keys to the right. I can also go into clear mode and now simply just tap on a button which will clear it. Using delete, instead what will happen is it will ripple it to the right. So now we go ahead, we go into insert. I want to map my media store here, so I go to internal. I pick that up. When we select this, boom, you see that it's assigned and it ripples everything to the right. Jump back into assign mode. Come here, I want 2, I want media 3, I want media 4. I want to go back to my externals because I want to pick up HDMI 5. Exit the bus map. In Touch Drive, the S-Series control panels include a dedicated keypad per row. These keypads can not only be used in a local mode, but it can also be a global keypad and recall all ME levels, chroma key levels, and canvas levels. With the keypads, we still have full attribute functionality, so defining exactly what we need, which is important in live sports and event, and we have overrides. I love to use the memory keypads to cut cameras. So when I'm cutting cameras, it's very easy to recall them, as well as to have banks where we recall cameras with font. Keyer control has gone to side-by-side keyers. Now you can delegate the keyers, the control, the menus, and the rows, all with the dedicated keyer select function. Next transition area, giving you that flexibility with the offset background button. Easily select the background. You have your 3 transition buttons, dedicated roll clip functionality for rolling servers frame accurately, and you have your dissolve, wipe, DVE, and media wipe buttons, cut, auto trans, and of course the legendary Ross fader. When we look up at the menu system, anybody who's used the Carbonite will know that the mini menu is going to follow the knobs with the functions, but now we've added a 6-axis joystick. All of this in a control surface that connects everything to it and then over a single Ethernet connection. So whether you need to work from home, distance between panels and frames can be overcome either with dedicated networks or VPN over public internet. If there's more you'd like to learn about Touch Drive, reach out to us. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.
Hello. Today I will show you Vizrt Plus. Vizrt Plus is a software application that include a lot of features. The main feature is a vision mixer, but on top of this we have a media player, we have a multi-layer effect, we have a audio mixer and monitoring, and a lot of other features like graphic and macro and whatever. One of the important feature is that the main mixer is able to support up to 44 simultaneous input. The 44 input are resolution independent, so it means that if I'm working in 1080p, I can receive simultaneously Ultra HD content or even not broadcast like web streaming format, and the system is upscaling or downscaling in real time those sources to the project resolution. The other very interesting feature at the end of the main mixer with the 44 input, we have a very powerful transition loader. We can create even our own transition with warp effect and audio clip. Then we have 4 downstream keyer. In the 4 downstream keyer, we can receive NDI string with fill and key, or we have an internal graphic capability, so we can download. We can, for example, use in a media player directly a Photoshop file. The graphic capability, especially in combination with Vizrt engine, is quite powerful. We can trigger using macro the Vizrt engine, the trio, and we can link, of course, text field with external data like clock, like scoreboard, or any kind of external source of data. Then, in terms of layering capability, the system is quite powerful. We have 8 mix effect bus, and the 8 mix effect bus can be direct output. So we have 8 mix output. But what is very interesting is that any mix effect bus can have up to 8 layers. So right now I'm showing you mix effect 1, where I have 1 animation background plus 3 picture-in-picture, and if I switch to mix effect 2, I have another EMI bus with 4 layers. But then what is very powerful, I can combine mix effect bus in another mix effect bus, and so this is making the system very powerful in terms of layering. But another very important feature is the support, is the audio support. We have an internal audio mixer. In the internal audio mixer, we can mix NDI source, but even Dante or AS67. And here is really the big advantage using this system for sport production, because we can combine NDI and Dante, which means that the setup of my live production is very easy, is very easy to set up, because just think that both Dante and NDI can use a simple network infrastructure. This means that the setup time of a live production for sport is really easy and spend very few resources. The other thing that I can show you is the recording capability. We can record not only the output, but we can record the input. And recording the input, we have a basic replay functionality. I'm showing it very quickly. Now I have one source in preview. I'm recording all. I'm recording 2 sources, and what I can do now, if I click the replay button here, the system is saving the clip and is executing the replay, and at the end of the replay, will switch back the mixer to the next source. So this is a basic overview of Vizrt Plus. If you have a question, or if you want to have more information, just contact us, and it will be our pleasure to support you.
Thanks, everybody. And that concludes Tech Tour A of Production Tools. So thanks again to Blackmagic, Grass Valley, Panasonic, Ross Video, and Vizrt. Of course, there are so many companies involved in Production Tools that we actually have a second tour, so be sure to check that one out. That one involves Evertz, EVS, Noco Media, and TVU Networks. Thanks again so much for your time, and be sure to check out all the rest of the tech tours on our on-demand area on the SVG Summit Connect website. Thanks again.